All right, diving in today. We've got a pretty unique set of sources to work with for this deep dive.
Yeah, this is interesting.
It's all these internet searches, right? All related to Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl halftime show. So basically, we're using like the internet's collective curiosity to try and figure out what exactly it was that captured everyone's attention.
It's like we're looking at
Yeah.
almost like a digital fingerprint of how people reacted, right?
Yeah.
Like what really stuck with them, what questions did they have right after the performance? All that's kind of captured in these searches.
Yeah, it's a gold mine of instant reactions.
Yeah.
So let's jump into it, right into the heart of it. Not surprisingly, right at the top, most popular searches, Kendrick Lamar halftime show, Super Bowl halftime show.
Yeah.
We even see some halftime show 2025. I mean, the sheer volume, it really tells a story.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it just goes to show you, right? The Super Bowl halftime show, it's a cultural event. It's huge. And it sparks this massive wave of interest that people are already searching for future years. We just saw this one.
Yeah, wild, right?
Crazy.
Now, okay, here's where things get really interesting. We start to see searches around specific songs. They not like us lyrics, not like us meaning. These are popping out constantly. So clearly this song, it really hit a nerve with people.
It seems that way, right? And I don't think that's a coincidence. I mean, think about it. This song, even outside of the Super Bowl, it's always had this really powerful message. You know, Lamar is known for weaving social commentary into his music. And with They Not Like Us, he's really exploring this feeling, right, of being an outsider, not quite fitting in with the mainstream. And to put those lyrics on a stage like the Super Bowl, I mean, that's huge. It amplifies everything.
Yeah, the context definitely adds another layer to it.
Oh, sure.
And it's funny how even the most straightforward basic searches can give you such a fascinating peek into how people are processing an event. So for instance, we see a lot of searches for SCA, which makes sense, right? She was a guest. Totally confirmed, yeah. But then alongside those, there's a ton of Drake and Serena Williams. Now, what do we make of that?
Those are interesting. It's intriguing, right? Because like you said, SCA, expected. Drake and Serena Williams, that's more of a head-scratcher. But it does speak to speculation, right? Fan theories. I mean, maybe people were hoping for these surprise appearances. Or maybe some folks just kind of got things mixed up remembering past collaborations or connections.
Yeah, the internet loves a good theory.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like everyone's playing detective,
Right.
piecing together these clues, or sometimes not even clues, misinformation.
Yeah.
But it's all part of the fun.
Exactly. And you know, the search terms, they often reveal those connections that people are making, even if they're not really, you know, based in fact, which I think is interesting, right? It reminds us that how the public perceives an event, it doesn't always line up perfectly with reality, especially in those immediate moments after it happens.
But those misinterpretations, they can be just as fascinating.
Oh, yeah.
It gives you this window into what people were hoping for, what they assumed.
Even their anxieties, right?
It's all there.
Adds layers to the story. It reminds us that how we see things, you know, it's just as important as what actually happened. And speaking of layers, we can't forget about Lamar's outfit.
Oh, right.
Generating buzz there, too. Tons of searches for Celine jeans, Kendrick Lamar jeans.
The internet fashion police were on high alert. Gotta love it, right? That attention to detail.
It's interesting, though, how these searches point to the impact of the event, right? Like Lamar's clothes, they're suddenly under a microscope, and I think it reflects this growing influence of hip-hop culture. It's mainstream now.
It's a reminder that the Super Bowl halftime show, it's not just a concert, right?
Yeah, no.
It's a platform for so much more, for fashion, for ideas. It's a trendsetter. Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit. Some of the searches, they take on, well, a bit of a more serious tone. We see questions like, is Kendrick Lamar a Trump supporter? Kendrick Lamar politics? These are coming up pretty frequently.
Yeah, this is really interesting because it highlights how pop culture and politics, they're kind of intertwined, right? Lamar has never shied away from social commentary in his music. And these searches, I think they suggest that viewers were ready to interpret his performance through that same lens.
Like the internet was trying to decode the performance.
Yeah.
Looking for those hidden messages or political stances. Which, I mean, given Lamar's history, it makes total sense.
Yeah. It speaks to this expectation that artists, especially those with a platform as big as the Super Bowl, that they'll use their voice to engage with the social and political landscape, you know? And Lamar, through his music, he's definitely cultivated that expectation.
So we've got this blend, right? The excitement about the performance itself, the deep dive into what the songs mean, the internet trying to figure out if there were any secret guests, and then this underlying current of political curiosity. Quite the mix.
Yeah, it really shows you the multifaceted nature of an event like this. It's not just entertainment. It's a starting point for discussions and debates, a reflection of what we're all thinking about and worried about right now.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground already, from the basics to the intriguing and even the speculative. But there's more to uncover, especially when it comes to reactions and reviews, and those hint at some pretty mixed opinions. We'll dive into those when we return.
Back again. We were just talking about how some of those searches kind of suggested that people were looking for like political undertones in Lamar's performance.
Right, right. Those questions about his stance on Trump and his politics in general definitely adds another layer.
It does, and it makes you wonder, right?
Yeah.
Did those people actually find the answers they were looking for? I mean, we know Lamar tackles big social issues in his music, but did that translate directly to the Super Bowl stage?
Hard to say for sure. It's a good question, though.
Yeah.
And I think it speaks to that kind of tricky balance,
Yeah.
when artists try to bring politics into their work.
Right. Especially on a platform as massive as the Super Bowl.
Yeah, exactly. You don't usually see a ton of political debate happening during the Super Bowl.
It's not really the place you expect it, is it?
Not really, no.
It's mostly about entertainment. And while, yeah, there have been some moments of social commentary here and there over the years, it's not really what people are tuning in for. So for someone like Lamar, whose work is so connected to those social and political themes, it makes things, well, a little complicated.
Yeah, like he's trying to bring those more serious conversations into a space that's usually about just having a good time, escaping from reality for a bit.
Exactly.
And I think that tension might explain some of the more mixed reactions we saw reflected in those searches, right?
Absolutely. We saw a halftime show review and even some worst Super Bowl halftime show popping up right alongside searches for the lyrics and their meanings. So it definitely seems like there was a whole spectrum of responses, from those who were like really digging in, analyzing every detail, to those who maybe felt it wasn't the right time or place for that kind of heavy stuff.
Reminds me of those discussions you have after watching a movie or reading a book that really makes you think.
Yeah.
There's never just one right way to interpret things. Everyone brings their own experiences and biases to the table.
For sure. And with the Super Bowl, you're dealing with such a huge, diverse audience. You've got diehard fans who know Lamar's music inside and out. They're already familiar with his messages. And then you have people who are maybe hearing his work for the first time.
Right, and then those who are just there for the halftime show spectacle, they might not be expecting to be confronted with social issues.
Exactly. And all those viewpoints, they're all reflected in those searches.
Yeah.
It's like we're seeing this snapshot of the cultural conversation happening in real time, right? With everyone grappling with the meaning of the performance, what Lamar intended, even if it was appropriate for the setting.
It's amazing to me that something as simple as internet searches can give us such a clear glimpse into how people are thinking. Like we're peering into the collective mind of the audience.
It's not just about what they watched, it's how they processed it.
Yeah.
It's really powerful, right? Even something as basic as internet search data can reveal so much about human behavior. It's not just the numbers themselves, it's the questions behind those numbers, the curiosity, even the anxiety.
Like we're seeing the ripple effect of Lamar's performance, how it kind of touched on these cultural fault lines and sparked all these different emotions and interpretations.
Yeah. And those ripples, they go beyond the Super Bowl itself.
Right.
It becomes part of this bigger cultural conversation, a conversation about art, about entertainment, and the role of social commentary in our society.
So we've talked about the political undertones, the mixed reactions, and this incredible look into how the public processed everything through that search data. It's been quite a journey.
It has, and it highlights how something like a Super Bowl halftime show, which seems pretty straightforward on the surface, can actually be pretty complex and layered. And it can start conversations that extend far beyond the performance itself.
Okay, as we wrap up this deep dive, let's turn our attention back to you, the listener. What are your takeaways from all this? What really stood out to you as we explored Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl performance? We'll dig into those questions and hopefully spark even more when we come back for our final thoughts.
And we're back for our final thoughts on Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl performance and all the buzz it generated online.
It's been quite the exploration, right?
It really has. So many layers to peel back, so much to think about.
Definitely.
And as we wrap up, I want to shift the focus to you, the listener.
Yeah.
What are your takeaways from all this? What really stuck with you as we dug into those searches and dissected Lamar's performance?
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
How much we can learn from something as simple as, what people type into a search bar. It's true. It's like a window into the collective mind.
It is. And for me, I think the biggest takeaway is, well, even in this age where information is everywhere, it's important to be critical, to really think about what we're seeing and reading.
Right.
Remember those searches for Drake and Serena Williams?
Oh, yeah.
Perfect example, right? How quickly speculation can take hold,
Yeah.
even when it's not based in reality.
It's like a good reminder to always dig a little deeper.
Yeah.
Question those easy answers.
Sure.
Consider different perspectives before you jump to conclusions.
Especially with something as multi-layered and thought-provoking as a Kendrick Lamar performance.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, his music is meant to challenge us, to make us think, to spark those conversations that go beyond just the surface level.
Exactly, and that's what makes this deep dive so fascinating.
Yeah.
We're not just trying to understand the event itself. We're exploring these bigger questions about our culture, our values, the role art plays in our society.
Big stuff.
Big stuff. So as we wrap up, we want to leave you with one final thought to chew on.
Great.
Something to keep in mind as you continue exploring Lamar's work and engaging in those discussions about his performance.
All right, hit us with it.
So, thinking about Lamar's history of weaving social commentary into his music, what message do you think he was trying to convey through his Super Bowl performance? And why do you think it sparked such a wide range of reactions?
Lots to unpack there.
Definitely. And we encourage you to keep those questions in mind as you, listen to more of his music, talk about the performance with others, maybe even go back and revisit some of those internet searches with a fresh perspective.
It's true. This deep dive, it's really just scratching the surface. There's a whole universe of thought and interpretation out there.
Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and most importantly, keep the conversation going.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. It's been a blast.